Hello, welcome to the very first Sunny in London vlog. I write the blog sunnyinlondon.com, which is a Florida girl's guide to finding sun and fun in London. I thought it would be really important today for the first vlog to shoot live from a beautiful English garden so I could show you really just how sunny it is in London. Before we get to today's topic, I want to be really honest with you and tell you that I'm very nervous about being in front of the camera. If you've read my About page, you're probably thinking that is very ironic, because in my About page I talk about how I met my husband in London back in the 90s when I was an intern for NBC News. At the time, he was a freelance cameraman. You would think that two people who have a background in journalism would be a lot more confident about vlogging and being in front of the camera, but that's actually not true at all. See, the problem is when we met in the 90s and we worked in journalism, this was before the huge digital experience. So there's been a lot that we've had to learn about technology in this blogging adventure. So I ask as we move forward today that you're a little bit sympathetic with my camera skills and technology, and hopefully let's just focus on the content of today's vlog, which is getting around London. Specifically today I want to talk to the first-time visitor to London who could be the person who's coming for the NFL and London games that are this autumn. What I want to give you are some tips and strategies for transportation around the city so that you can really focus on getting the most out of your trip. The blog post I wrote, Getting Around London, features all the links that you will need to learning ticket prices and information about London's transportation systems. Of course, you're already familiar with London's famous landmarks like Big Ben, the London Eye, the Tower, and the Tower Bridge. Another iconic image from London is the double-decker buses. So I'd like to start with those first as a way to get around London. Foremost, something fun to do when you get on a London bus that has two levels is to go to the top level and try to get a seat in the front. In the front seat, you might not be able to take the best pictures because there could be a little bit of a glare coming off the windows, but it's certainly a really good way to see the attractions as you're going through the street and try to learn your way around. I have to be really honest with you, I don't take the London buses much when I'm in central London because I usually use the underground because I find it a lot more easy to get around. The London bus system can be very complicated to a first-time visitor. My husband recommends the app Bus Checker, and I'm slowly getting used to using it, but I have to admit I mostly rely on the underground. If you're looking to take a bus, I will tell you that the bus drivers are extremely helpful, but I wouldn't stand there for too long asking directions because you'll definitely agitate everybody waiting for the bus behind you. Something you can do in your hotel room prior to leaving each day is to go on Google Maps and literally plot out what you're going to do, and there's a little icon on it that you can pick that will show you the bus route. So maybe you can write down the bus number so you know what you're doing before you leave. If you have an international data plan, I would definitely suggest to download the Bus Checker app that my husband uses. The other thing I found really useful is yesterday when I received this London passbook in the mail, when I saw the back page, it features a very simplified guide of bus routes in London that help you get really from one attraction to another. Aside from sitting on the top level in the front seat in the London bus, I would also suggest that you watch the signs in the top that indicate what your next stop is going to be. If you are sitting in the top seat, I would not wait until the last stop to get off because it's very difficult to go down the very small staircase. So if you're sitting in the top, you might want to start making your way to the staircase 2 stops prior. I would suggest on the stop before you where you want to go that you go down the staircase when the bus is not moving. If you try to go down the staircase while the bus is moving, you could end up with a broken leg, which I think would probably ruin your trip. The other thing that possibly could ruin your trip is not getting off the bus the right way. Of course you know how to exit a bus, but I would suggest once you do so, especially if you're American, before you cross the street, make sure you look both directions. Next, I want to talk about tips for using the London Underground. The biggest tip I can give you about riding the London Underground is please stand on the right, walk on the left when you're using an escalator. It's just the system that's used in London, and if you don't do it, you're really going to agitate every single person around you. So once again, stand on the right, walk on the left. While you're not going to find the most posh people in London on the tube, it is in fact fairly cheap and easy. If you visit my blog, which features getting around London tips, I have links to where you can get travel information for travel cards. Most of your trip is going to be centered within Zone 1. You probably want to consider getting a travel card for a week for Zone 1 if you think you're going to be on the Underground quite a bit. Purchasing a ticket each time you need it is not something I would suggest because the lines for tickets for the Underground are usually quite long. If you visit the blog post I've written on getting around London, you'll find links to how you can get an Oyster card even prior to your visit. Something you want to do before your trip is to download a London Tube map onto your phone. Make sure when you do this that the app has a map that's accessible without Wi-Fi. Even though you might consider getting an international data package for your trip, I will tell you virtually no one gets a Wi-Fi signal on the tube. However, you want to be able to access this map in case you want to look at the map as you're traveling or find yourself in the street and need to figure out a quick route where to go. Another option I can suggest to you while you're visiting London is to take a London cab. However, I only suggest this option to people who are not concerned about money while they're visiting. I never take London cabs because they're extremely expensive. They do offer the advantage of not having to worry about routes and ride with other people. However, you will find, even against New York City, that the cabs in London are extremely expensive. The drivers are very knowledgeable, but you'll definitely pay the price for that. The biggest question I get from people when traveling to London is which airport should you choose for your flight? You really have two options, and those are Gatwick Airport and Heathrow. First, I'm going to talk about Gatwick Airport. I've only flown in and out of it once, and that was in the 90s when I was here for the study abroad program. What you'll find with Gatwick Airport is it's the furthest one away from London. This means once you land and go through border control, you should take the Gatwick Express, which is a 30-minute journey from Gatwick Airport into Victoria Station. If you do take the Gatwick Express into Victoria Station, I would suggest at that point stopping at Victoria Station and getting a cab to your hotel from there. Even though I just said cabs are my least preferred method of transportation, you really don't want to travel around Victoria Station with all your luggage and jet lag while trying to find the line change and your hotel. So please, if you take the Gatwick Express to Victoria Station, plan on getting a cab from there to your hotel. The airport that I've used about 10 to 15 times since I've been in London is Heathrow Airport. If you're flying into Heathrow, one of your options is to take the Heathrow Express to Paddington Station. If you're staying in the western part of central London, this could be advantageous. The ride is about 15 minutes long. I've never taken it because I've either had a ride or used the Underground, but it is something that I would suggest if you are trying to get into central London quickly. Again, just like Gatwick, I would suggest once you get to Paddington, don't concern yourself with trying to change lines to get to your hotel. At that point, pay the price and get a cab because it will be much easier. Something I've done a few times when I've landed in Heathrow Airport is taking the Piccadilly Underground line. If you're really looking for the cheapest way to get into London, I would suggest that you take the Piccadilly Line from Heathrow Airport into the closest station to your hotel. From that station, at that point, I would get a cab. Again, changing tube lines with all of your luggage is not something that's enjoyable, and I would never suggest it to somebody to do during peak travel times. There are no luggage carts available on the Underground, so anything that you're traveling with, you must be able to move with your own hands. This is not something that's convenient to do during peak times, and quite honestly, there isn't even enough room for people on the trains during those times, much less your luggage. If I was asked to pick my favorite method of transportation in London, it would be walking. With the many beautiful parks and bridges that cross the River Thames, this is something that you really want to consider. However, I will also caution you that the pavement areas can be a bit bumpy because they're kind of old. So make sure you bring very comfortable shoes to wear during your trip to London. I really hope the information today on getting around London has been useful. Please visit my blog, sunnyinlondon.com, and look at the visitor's guide that I've set up for you. The visitor's guide features information on hotels, attractions, advice on things to do, and fabulous restaurants where you can eat during your time in London. I absolutely appreciate your patience today while we get through my vlogging nerves, and I want to tell you, in all honesty, I've been sitting in the sun for 3 hours in London and absolutely regret not putting on sunscreen. I do hope when you visit this wonderful city that is my favorite in the world that you experience this much sun. And if my final advice can be, while you're doing all this walking around in London, please don't forget sunscreen.